guys, and welcome back to our Star Wars Resistance recap show, Viva La Resistance, right here on Dedicated Art. My name is Chris Dome, and I'll be your host today. It's just a two-person panel today, myself and Nico Suave Rigoli. And we're here to talk about the latest two episodes that dropped yesterday. What a weird, we got a twofer. And it wasn't even like a mid-season finale, and it wasn't a season finale, but just, hey, two new episodes. Here you go. I'm not saying no. And those episodes were, of course, The New World and No Place is Safe. Nico, let's just get some initial thoughts from you. What'd you think of the two episodes that we got yesterday?
A two-person panel for a two-episode episode here, and this is sort of what made Clone Wars, the latter seasons of Clone Wars and Rebels so popular, was the multiple episode arcs that they would do, and it was cool because this is something Resistance hadn't done much of, is the multi-episode arcs, and we get two episodes right here and there, and they're both really good. They both touched on the same planet, but it had unique feels to them both. I like the story that was being told here, especially in relation to Kaz, and it raises some questions about not just for towards the end of the season, but also, what's he gonna do after the war is over? Once we get to post Rise of Skywalker era, what is Kaz gonna do to occupy his time? And this episode these two episodes make you think about that.
Now, that's a fair point. What I also did appreciate about this I guess two-parter, as we're gonna have to put it, is the fact that there was that one consistent through line. Now, I do wish that a little bit more from previous episodes had carried over, and I wish it would set up a little bit more for the future, but we'll get more into that in just a moment as we come on to this planet called Eos, or Eos Prime, I guess, is what it would actually be classified as in the official galaxy map. But it's this nice, beautiful, lush, almost resort-like planet. It's almost like what you would picture a planet like Harloff Minor to look like from the Bloodline novel or something like that. But what... well, first off, actually, then let me ask you, Nico, what'd you think of Eos Prime?
I thought it was very cool looking. I think I could probably tell where the episode was going once they said, oh, we're landing down on this new planet. Usually the way things have gone in television in the past, when you land on a foreign planet, you're bound to run into the inhabitants of said foreign planet. And the inhabitants themselves were really cool looking. That's another tip to the cap of the Star Wars creators, is that they always make really cool looking aquatic beings. See the Mon Calamari, see Kit Fisto and his species, and now we have another new species of aquatic nature to follow, and I really like the way they look. Even Riff Tamsin, there are some respectable qualities about his aesthetic, but that's a story for another day. But I liked the look of Eos/Eos Prime.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And I also very much appreciated a lot of the architecture that went into designing a place like Eos Prime, especially inside a lot of those caves that we get into, because everybody gets their assignments. They split off into groups to just check the planet, make sure that it's safe, and what in our most unusual pairing yet, Kaz has Griff tag alongside him, which we've never seen those two hang out. Hell, we've barely heard Griff speak throughout this entire show. So they're off doing their thing. They're, doing their patrol, and they decide to land on this beach and go check out what looks like the remains of a village. And Kaz spots something rather unfortunate must have happened there. A First Order helmet, not too unlike Griff's own TIE Fighter helmet. Boy, that's not going to pay off later or anything.
Again, it's one of those things where I could see where the plot devices were going. Okay, we see a helmet here. Griff is known for having that ex-Stormtrooper helmet because he is an ex-Imperial officer, and so it's gonna backfire on them somehow.
A little bit, unfortunately. Although something I really did appreciate was I really appreciate a lot of the exposition that Griff actually gives in regards to his history with Captain Doza and how they served together back under the Empire. So, I thought that was a very nice touch.
The more we get from Griff, the more I want to see of him, because I feel like he's got so many stories to tell from having been on the losing side and then defected, and this was one of those stories that he told to Kaz. And like, I just want to know what was going on in his head in the latter portions of his life towards the end of that first galactic civil war. That's my alarm clock. Sorry about that. But one more thing, getting back to the aesthetics of the planet, I like that the way where they were exploring, it looked like coral, but not underwater. Like that's a very unique choice to have the coral outside of the water as opposed to inside of it.
Yeah, exactly. And it did kind of give off that sort of pink coral, like something that you'd find in something like Australia or Belize. That kind of that kind of aesthetic. And what I also really loved about the design was it looked alive. It looked just as alive as the creatures and the local species, which now I'm going to have to look up the name of because I'm sure we'll get that in a trivia match or something sometime soon. So
Probably.
No in our luck, especially given how a certain taping went last night. But...
Yeah. You'll find out about that in a couple weeks.
You'll find out about that soon enough, guys. But yeah, so as they continue to explore around, they notice this very control room-like place. And then as Kaz continues to do his usual Kaz thing, Kaz sees a Rebel insignia and realizes, back when the Rebel Alliance was a thing, they had a base of operations here on Eos Prime. And, and that's why the First Order had come there in the first place. The First Order had already been there. They'd already made their damage. So, on the one hand, Doza isn't in the wrong for thinking that this would be a good planet to live on, except for the fact that the locals don't care too much for outsiders and quite effectively capture Kaz and Griff. And, of course, hold them hostage. They're trying to, sneak onto the Colossus and break in to get them to, leave us alone. You filthy First Order scum. Nice little misunderstanding there, and Doze is trying to send down security droids, and, there's a couple funny bits with Niku trying to act all diplomatic, and it's like, oh, honey, don't even try.
I feel like it's very appropriate that his own creation of B1 and the super battle droids that he helped reboot are essentially what starts the conflict that he's trying to diffuse.
Yeah.
And you're the commander of them. So why did you not just speak up and say, don't do this? Don't do this. Obviously he needs to fix the programming because B1 did not listen.
Nope. He definitely needs to work on that programming, although I'm sure if they had been properly destroyed, we would have heard Case scream from all the way halfway across the world because of his hatred of B1 battle droids. But what I also found quite liking about that bit was the fact that Yeager somehow was actually able to maintain his cool throughout the entire shenanigans. I don't get it. Because let's say I was in that situation, I would have started blasting. I would have been like, nope, too many people I care about are in danger. I don't care about you people. I'm shooting you. But Yeager, props to you for not trying to kill anyone.
Do you think... I mean, I'm doubtful that he's actually been on this planet, but given his rebel history, I'm pretty sure he at least knew that there were inhabitants and maybe he thought, oh, we landed in a place where we can't disturb them and they can't disturb us. And so once they boarded the ship, he was like, I've heard about them. Let's try not to bother them. Headcanon. This is
Well,
basically
yeah,
where
no,
my headcanon is
I
going.
mean, you kind of have to treat it like, a pack of bees at this point. Like, you think you can just, leave them alone and they're not going to try to sting you, but they've got guns and they've got, pikes with electricity coming out of them. You need to fight back, and, well, at least the episode ends the way it does on a funny joke. But as all that's going on, we do meet the queen of the locals, and she is trying to, have Kaz and Griff fed to one of their flying beasts. But Kaz does something that's very Kaz, in a very good thing. He sees some sick people, and he gives them medicine to help revive them, and that's what ultimately convinces the queen to give them a shot. Now, there was... I'll just get this out of the way real quick. There was one thing about this episode that I absolutely despised, and this is just a kids' show thing in general, when we meet a tribe of locals in a galaxy-wide planet, and we assume they don't speak Basic because the grunt soldiers don't speak Basic. So when Kaz is trying to communicate with the queen for the first time, and then she just can speak Basic pretty well, but with an accent, I'm like, we have to do this whole trope again.
I'll admit, it is an annoying trope, and we see it in pretty much every cartoon. Like, even if it's just the leader of the tribe that knows how to speak it and not everyone else that's part of the tribe, I'll give you that. It still gets pretty annoying. But getting back to Kaz's solution to the squabble here, we were talking about this off screen. I feel like this was a very Star Trek-y move. To like seek the most peaceful resolution possible and to offer friendship and aid. And we've seen this a lot from Kaz in his time on this show. Is like he's a spy. He's getting more soldiery as time goes on, but he's still trying to help people as much as he possibly can, even if they're trying to hurt him. It shows the kind of person Kaz is, and I like that about him.
Exactly, and I had no issue with the fact that, yes, it did feel very Star Trek-y, because that's a very Star Trek thing to do. And, of course, as that rare breed of people who loves both franchises, I have no problem with a little bit of crossbreeding to use for the use of I have no problem with a little bit of crossbreeding for that kind of use in storytelling. I will say though, this episode did wrap up a little quick. But then when I did realize that this is supposed to be a two-parter, I guess it made a little bit more sense that, first they'd end the squabble between the two tribes and get ready for what's coming next episode, where we had the waterbending master and now we have to do Siege of the North, which, yes, there you go, folks. Yes. And it actually was a little bit like that, mixed with a little bit of Empire Strikes Back, because first, Kazuto is set to go join up with Norath and the Resistance once again, probably to get ready for, probably not quite yet Rise of Skywalker, but getting pretty close to that.
And why does Kaz do that? It's because he feels like, well, the Colossus is safe, so what is my purpose here now? Like, I've spent all this time preparing for the big fight, wanting to help the galaxy as much as I can, and I've been able to do that on the Colossus. Now that the Colossus is kind of just touching down and setting up shop here, I need to be doing something. So I'm going to go off and join the actual resistance movement did he say Batu?
Okay, that was the rendezvous point. It wasn't the official Well, that's where he's rendezvousing with Norath. That's not where the Resistance base, he said, was, because the base is still on Ajin Close at this point, I think.
Well, he's still meeting up with Norath on Batu, so...
Yeah. So, he's setting off to do that. He's saying goodbyes to, Captain Doza. Captain Doza gives him a nice, firm handshake, and Nico is crying up a storm, and I love it every second of it. And then Sonara and our ship come to say goodbye. And
this further confirms your ship, by the way, because Sonara was just so relaxed about it. She was like, "Hey, I'm a pirate. I get it. You got to leave sometimes." But Tora
was actually kind of torn up about it, and
she was mad.
She was mad. Oh God! Like seriously, and when I say Empire Strikes Back, like I'm not even joking. Like this was honestly something just like, "Well, Your Highness, I guess this is it." Yeah. Oh, don't get all mushy on me. So long, princess. But kind of in a reverse role, where if Leia would have gotten in Han's face about it right away. Well, actually, she does get in his face about it, but still, you get my point. It's a really tender moment between all these characters that we've come to love over the last season. But as Kaz takes off, what do we see?
One more thing about Tora before we get to this. Like, notice she used his full name. She didn't say Kaz. She said Kazuda. Like, that just shows how hurt she is. That's what every pissed off spouse does, is they use their partner's full name when they're angry, because they want you to know how serious they're being. And in this case, Tora just addresses Kazuda by his full name, and so that just shows you how annoyed she is.
You see why I shipped this to begin with?
I do.
Awesome. So as I was saying, as he's leaving the atmosphere to get ready to go, he's been gifted the fireball by Yeager, and he's taken off, and well, they're not exactly alone out there now, are they? Oh no. Like I said, in pretty much an updated version of the scene from Empire, we got ourselves a nice little First Order probe.
And this is a super probe. Like, it's big and armored and everything.
It's pretty much its own ship. Like, this thing is huge.
Like, think Buzz Droid big, or Vulture Droid big, but bigger. Like that's basically the size of it.
Yeah, exactly. And Kaz, he can't leave now. Not when the First Order is on their doorstep. Just sure, not knowing that they're there, but he's got to make sure that everyone's safe. He's got to warn them. So he flies. He's flying back, trying to take out the probe. And
one more thing, notice the parallel to Revenge of the Sith in the way Kaz actually defeated the probe droid. Uses the missiles against him.
I was literally just about to get there, because as he's about to head back, he gets fired at, and sort of like Revenge of the Sith / Force Awakens, where instead of trying to outrun the missiles, he's gonna run the missiles straight back to their to their source of origin, and of course he destroys the probe droid, but he does take himself out briefly. For a brief bit, the fireball has no power, CB-23 is down, but thanks to a little trick that Yeager taught him, Kaz is able to at least re-hotwire CB-23 back, so that way they can at least get enough power to the ship to get back to the surface. And as he's flying it back down to the Colossus, my heart was hurting, because I'm like, but the fireball looked so good. It looked so, ready to just go. But now it's got to get fixed again. Damn it, Kaz.
To our fellow watchers of the show, you can just comment below and let me know if there's a Lego set of the fireball, because if so, I'd love to have it.
Same. And of course, Yeager does give him a little bit of a thrashing, but he's also just wondering why is he back. And of course, Nico is once again, "Eee!"
What's the name of that book? The mouse named Algernon, that
Flowers
gets
for
hugged.
Algernon.
Yeah, the Flowers for Algernon, where the poor mouse just gets hugged to death by this lovable guy. Like, that's essentially what Nico was doing with Kaz, was just squeezing the ever-loving life out of him to show his affection for his bestest friend.
Yep. God. Oh, I swear those two better never change their dynamic. But of course, Kaz gives him a warning, and pretty much right as he's in the middle of all that, in comes the or not the finalizer. In comes Pyre's Star Destroyer. There it is, and just a crap ton of ties. So now the Colossus has to get out of there. Now, from here on out, you know exactly what's going to happen, for the most part. But what I have to appreciate is how all the events wind up taking place. So, first off, the locals are actually helping out. That's awesome. They're flying around to their creatures, and they're like landing on top of the ties and smashing them, and basically forcing them to crash that way. That's fun. All the aces, because of the training they put themselves through, they now know how to survive in a dogfight, and it shows. And they're doing one heck of a job keeping up and staying alive. Now, of course, we have a couple of first order pilots that we have to be kind of worried about. One being Ruckland and the other being Tam. So Tam sees a ship that looks an awful lot like Yeager's. So she gives pursuit, because this fighter happens to be going straight for the bridge of the destroyer. Now, there was a small part of me that actually wished Kaz had pulled this off, where he could have flown straight to the bridge, shot a torpedo, and taken it out. Sadly, that did not come to pass.
And if it had happened, what will we do for the rest of the season? Like, that raises another gigantic question there of we've been spending the entire season just waiting for interactions between Pyre, Tyrion, Tam, and Ruckland, and our Colossus crew. And if they were to just wipe out the First Order battalion that's been following the Colossus throughout the galaxy, we'd have nothing else to do for the next couple episodes. And I'm pretty sure we have 6 more left.
Yeah, but I mean, we could have, started setting up for Rise of Skywalker and maybe show what they were doing during the Battle of Exegol, but...
I guess. But I will say, you mentioned all the little things of the training paying off, the locals helping out. Like, we're getting the payoff from past episodes that we had a feeling was going to happen, but weren't sure of, because we didn't know where the season was going in terms of direction. But hey, here's the payoff, or at least a small fraction of the payoff that we were waiting for.
Yeah. Oh, exactly. And I'll also say that the fact that it was Tam who saved the Star Destroyer, and we'll get to where that led to in a second. But it was actually a very interesting moment about how she did, in fact, hesitate to shoot down Kaz. Although, in fairness, she thought it was Yeager behind the cockpit, but still.
Actually, for a moment she did. And then she recognized Yeager would never storm the ship the way whoever's piloting his ship is doing right now.
You're
so
right.
she immediately recognized that's Kaz flying the ship, not Yeager.
But and either way, I appreciate that she hesitated to shoot, because she had him locked. She could have blown him out of the sky right then, but she doesn't. So that was nice. Thank you, Tam. Even though now I'm mad at you because you saved your ship and got yourself a nice little promotion, as was the end of her story in the episode, where, yeah, Tierney was like, Listen, Tamara, you saved us. We appreciate that. Thank you. You know, in her evil, conniving little way.
Buttering her up a little bit more just to sell her again on the First Order, because we've seen in past episodes that
She
Tam
has her
has been
doubts.
questioning if she made the right decision. And so, like, she just got a promotion. That's a good way to help a disgruntled employee stay on the job for a little bit longer.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, you know, it'd be like if I worked for a pizza place and then I got a couple raises throughout the year and I'd be like, ooh, all of a sudden I don't hate myself as much. So,
Is that what happens in real life, or is that just something you wish?
oh no, that's happened to me. You know, back when I used to work at my first pizza place job, I got raises all the time, and that kept me on. But yeah, no, right. Okay, hold on. Is there anything I'm forgetting?
The talk that Yeager had with Kaz after the battle of, like, Kaz is gonna decide to stay on because he realizes he's still needed here, so he still has a reason to stay on. And then he's talking to Yeager about, like, Tam was actually gonna shoot me, and so Yeager's giving him that speech of, I realize you still care about her. I do too, but she's kind of too far gone. So we kind of have to approach this the same way she would, without hesitation. If she pulls, we pull first.
But no one's ever really gone. Okay, I know. Bad time to quote Last Jedi. Although, and that was something I appreciate about that conversation, was it's just confirmation that Tam will come back, and I'm okay with that. Like, because sometimes you have to learn your lesson, but you don't have to pay the ultimate price for it. Like, you don't have to necessarily lose everything that you hold dear just to realize where you went wrong. You know, and that was always the thing with Tam, was I understood that, you know, she felt hurt by the lack of trust given to her in season 1. I understood that. But simultaneously, she did make her own bad decisions by joining the First Order. And I don't want her to pay for that with her life. So, you know, can we just bring her back already and, you know, end the series on a decent note?
I'm predicting, much like we did in Rebels Season 2 with Ahsoka and Vader, we're going to get a standoff between these two. And I feel like Kaz is going to lock his target on her, but he just won't be able to bring himself to do it. And when Tam sees that, she might do the exact same thing.
And then Rucklin's going to come in and try to kill Kaz, and then they'll team up on him or something. I don't know. But
I hope he gets shot out an airlock.
Yeah. Well,
He's so annoying. He's so annoying.
Yeah.
Sorry, Elijah Wood. Sorry, but
Well,
you play an annoying character. In this.
are we though? Because that is kind of the point of his character. But I think that actually ought to about do it. Unless you have any other final thoughts.
I'm hoping we get more of these multi-episode arcs as we get closer to the season finale. Because, you know, getting 2 episodes, that was kind of nice. It's something I didn't expect to see when I turned on my Comcast On Demand, but I was like, ooh, 2 new episodes, so this should be good. So I'm hoping we get a few more of these. Plus, you got to keep in mind that Clone Wars is coming up soon, so, like, we might get more 2-episode arcs per week just to speed things up as we get closer to the next show.
It's possible. It is certainly possible. And for me, these 2 episodes, I'm not going to call them filler per se, because there was a bit of payoff, and there was obviously a lot of good visuals, because the dogfight itself was awesome. Like, the entire last 10 minutes of No Place is Safe was awesome. I do just wish we could have gotten a little more time on Eos Prime. I kind of wish that we could have, done a few more things. Like, there's a way you could have done this season and, have it work a little more strongly than it wound up turning out. But that's fine. I'm not the showrunner of the show, and I'm not trying to besmirch Justin Ridge and his very talented crew. I'm not trying to besmirch Christopher Sean and the rest of the voice cast for doing their job, because I think all these considered, everyone's doing an incredible job. But,
please come on our show when your non-disclosure agreement expires.
Please. But I am still just a little bit frustrated with the fact that there was so much of this season that felt directionless, and now we really are finally getting back to that kind of storytelling in season 1, where each episode just sort of bleeds into the next, and the consequences of the previous episode now affects what's going to happen moving forward. But that said, I'm still satisfied. So with that, guys, thank you for tuning into this week's episode of Viva La Resistance. We hope you enjoyed the show. Please like the video, comment down below, subscribe to the channel if you haven't already, and Nico, where may the good folks find you online?
Facebook, Twitter, YouTube at Nico Suave Regoli, or just Nico Suave with 4 random meaningless numbers at the end on Discord. Combat Wrestling Trivia on Facebook, Combat Wrestling Network on YouTube. The poorly made Twitter handle is at Combat Wrestlin, the number 2. There is no letter G. I am the TMG Entertainment Chokeslam Wrestling Debate Champion of the World. And of course, you can find me right here on Dedicated to Art and all the places Chris will say in just a moment. Stay tuned for a bunch of the new shows we have coming out between the next couple weeks, if not next month entirely. And of course, Trivia for Thon 2, starting this Friday. By the way, the donation link, I'm going to put it in this video as well. So hashtag trivia, the number 4, THON, the number 2. Click that link in the description below, and you can donate to the 4 Diamonds Pediatric Cancer Research Fund as part of Penn State New Kensington's Thon fundraising efforts. We've got 8 nights worth of matches, which pretty much all of them feature at least one member of Dedicated to Art. Matthew Rosa and I going for the Combat Wrestling Trivia tag titles. Me and Chris having a Star Wars debate regarding the TV side of things with Laura Kelly and Elise from the Force to Us podcast on the judges desk. The Reactors Rumble, which Chris is a part of, and of course the Dedicated to Art versus Call to Action match that in the co-main event of the week. It's going to be big. And of course the Star Trek TV discussion episode of the Who Cares Anyway podcast also happening this Friday.
Absolutely. Very pleasantly going to be joined by William Bibiani, Ashley V. Robinson, and Whitney Seibold to, talk about the other Star franchise that has been dear to me for over 20 years, not just Star Wars. But of course, you guys can follow me on Twitter, Instagram, Stardust, Letterboxd, and Discord at Skywalker Dome. And you guys can follow this radio channel on Twitter and Instagram at D2A Channel. Please like our Facebook page, join our Facebook group to keep up with the conversation. And a lot of other crazy stuff coming up in regards to Thon, as well as our new shows, Down Tune Dissection, where Matthew Rosa and I will be talking about all things rock and metal. With Nico's comic show coming in a couple weeks, which will be really awesome, as well as Knights of the Podcast, our weekly Star Wars show, which will launch next week. We are so excited for you all to come join us on this magical journey. And until next time, Viva la Resistance.
And may the Force be with you always.
Yeah!